All right. Part 1. Monday morning. Sum it up in 10 minutes or less.
Relationships dictate a huge part of our lives.
Okay. That's kind of the whole week. It's kind of the whole week. What was part 1? Specifically, what? Okay, whatever takes you to slays you. That's good too. What was the main point, though? Part 1? The approach of the world? Yes.
Goes the opposite of
That's true too.
whatever makes you
Whatever makes you happy. Okay, the world says follow your dreams, follow your heart, follow your desires, follow your longings, follow how you feel. All right, then Monday night was what? Part 2.
God is like a creepy Santa.
That wasn't the exact point. It was sometimes we see him that way, and that's not true. So it wasn't God is like a creepy Santa. Sometimes we have this weird picture that makes him like that. He actually is what? Deeply desires us. God deeply desires you. He's pursued you. He's come to you. All right? He wants, it's not that he just wants you to come to him. He's actually pursued you, even to the point of dying on the cross and moving heaven and earth and giving him godhood to buy you back and make you his own, giving you the chance. All right, then yesterday morning was what?
Was yesterday too?
Yesterday was Tuesday. Very good.
Y'all that.
What? Okay, we have to give up our desires to God. We're talking about there's a tension. There's a tension between what we want and what God wants. The two things don't reconcile well. And then last night we added on to that by again talking about these two ways, the way of the flesh and the way of the spirit, and that the two ways are incompatible. And so you have a decision to make, whether you're going to walk your way or walk with God and follow and go after him who has come after you, or whether you're going to do your own thing. And this is the big decision. Now you say this relationship week, and yet I haven't given you any dating advice yet. You know, we haven't talked about all the little dating questions and, you know, how do you know if a guy's a good guy, or, you know, how do you know if she's the one, all that stuff. Because really that's not the question. Those aren't the questions that we need to deal with as we're talking about relationships. And of course I want to talk about more than just boy-girl relationships, but the basic idea of all relationships are going to affect the course of your life, and how are you looking at how your life goes, whether you are saying, I'm going to follow what feels good for me, or whether I'm going to follow the Spirit, is going to determine everything else. I could give you 103 good rules for dating, and if you decide to follow your heart, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter if you follow the rules. If you're also following your heart, it's not going to end well for you, even if you do everything right. And I know people who did everything right. I had a girl I went to college with, and a good girl, Bible college, kept strong morals, loved Jesus, wanted to serve Jesus, served in her church, all that. And then she met a guy who was a good guy and fulfilled her checklist and all the stuff, and you know he had to be a Christian. But it was all her pursuit. But she was trying to pursue the right way, but she was still kind of looking and pursuing. And so she married him. I went to the wedding. She did everything right. They're divorced now. And it was bad. It got really bad. Really, really bad. You say, well, what went wrong? She did everything right. Yeah, but she still followed her heart. She still just went her way. She just did it the Christian her way. She still followed all the rules, but she went her own way rather than waiting, rather than saying, okay, God, whatever you want. This is hard. This is hard stuff. Why is it so hard? How can we struggle? I mean, shouldn't it just be easy? Shouldn't it just be easy? Just do the right thing and everything just works out. I mean, that's how it should be, right? You just do the right thing. Everything works out. Life is happy. Yay! But it doesn't seem to go that way, does it? We're going to talk about that this morning. Let's pray. Lord, Father, Lord, I pray as we look into your word again, as we hear from you, that you'll help us make sense of some of this stuff. We'll begin to understand more of the life we are living, the world we're living in, and who you are, and what it means to live in you and follow you. You'll help us sort some of this out so that we might make wise choices, and so we might know that we're following after you and not following after ourselves. And Lord, I just pray that you'll speak with clarity this morning, and we'll hear your voice and understand. And we just pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. What we have to understand is the reason this is so hard is because it's not just I'm just going to decide. There are actual forces working against us, working against you. You are being opposed. All right? There are forces that are working against you moving in the right direction, moving towards God. So let's check out some of these forces. Turn to Jeremiah 17:9, and somebody want to read it. Jeremiah 17:9.
The human heart is the most deceitful of all things and desperately wicked. Who really knows how bad it is?
The human heart, how's that? Read it again. I like that version.
Is most deceitful of all things and desperately wicked.
The human heart is the most deceitful of all things and desperately wicked. Whew! Wow. Go to the cardiologist and they say, your heart is sick. All right? So the human heart is desperately wicked. It's deceitful. My version says the human heart is deceitful, more deceitful than all else, and is desperately sick. So the first thing you got going against you is you got a bad heart. Okay, when the world says follow your heart, the problem is your heart is not your friend. Your heart is desperately sick and deceitful. It plays tricks on you. It lies to you. And we don't tend to remember that. The world doesn't tell us that. In fact, the world says your heart should be embraced. Whatever your heart wants, you should give your heart. In fact, in our culture today, as people are saying, oh, my heart's leading me in this direction, we have whole movements that say you are not allowed to tell someone that's wrong. You are not allowed to say that I think that's wrong. No, if that's what the person's heart's telling them, then they need to embrace it. Okay? You ever watch a small child? Small child that hasn't learned better yet? Small children who haven't learned better will grab things and want things that are going to hurt them. Sharp knives, hot stoves. Give me! You take it away, they go, ah! Why? Because their heart's sick. Their heart's like, shiny knife, looks like fun. Maybe I should throw it at a camper. Oh, sorry, that was last week. But our heart leads us the wrong way. And then when we don't get it, the heart goes, give me what I want. So that's the first thing working against you. As you go into relationships, you got to realize that if your heart says, oh, there's the one, your heart is not to be trusted. And that's one reason why it's bad to follow your heart. Secondly, that's not the only enemy you've got. John 10:10. Somebody read that one.
The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly.
Jesus speaking here, the thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come that you might have life and have it abundantly. In other words, overly full. So not only do you have a bad heart that's working against you, but you also have an exterior force working against you. So you've got basically, there's an enemy inside the house, your heart, and then you've got an enemy outside, the devil, the thief, and the thief wants to steal, kill, and destroy. Jesus said, I came to give you life and to give you a lot of it. I came to fill you up and give you stuff. The thief came to take stuff away. And what's Satan's gain here? What's Satan's problem? Why is Satan busy just making life miserable? Satan hates God. The reason Satan hates God is because he was hoping to be God. He wanted to get God's job. He thought being a God was being a good gig because he's very stuck on himself. And he thought, man, I could fire God and take over. Of course, he didn't realize, well, God made him. He's not really up to the job. He's not capable of doing the job. And Satan is all about himself. He cannot love. And because God is all-powerful and Satan is not, trying to take over God didn't work. He lost. So now he's mad. So now what can he do? Well, he can't actually hurt God. He can't attack him. He can't beat him up. He can't give him a bloody nose. He can't do anything to God. So he says, all right, well, if I can't get to you, I'll get to your loved ones. I know how I can hurt you. Since I can't hurt you directly, I will destroy that which you love. And since you love these humans, I can get at them. That's how I hurt you, is to get at those who you love. And so Satan wants you dead. He wants you destroyed. He wants you ruined because he knows that hurts God. He knows God loves you. He knows God loves you passionately. He knows God, God loves you with an everlasting love. So if he can hurt you, destroy you, separate you from God, he figures that's a win. So he is constantly working to separate you away from the one who loves you. He is constantly trying to drive a wedge between you and God. That's his one game plan. It's his only goal. He knows that at the end he's going to lose. He knows that he's destined for jail. He knows that when human history is over, God's going to lock him up and throw away the key. So he figures all I can do is until he throws me away, excuse me, I'm going to hurt him as hard as I can by taking out as many of his loved ones as I can. So you have two enemies working against you. You have your heart that is desperately sick and wants what it wants and will lie to you. And you have a devil, you have an outside enemy who wants to steal, kill, and destroy. And he will do anything he can to trip you up and take you out, to destroy you. Turn to Genesis 3. Let's see him in action here. Many of you are familiar with Adam and Eve. Genesis 3, we see where he started the whole human race in the bad direction. Tried to take us right out at the beginning. In fact, I don't know for certain, but it's entirely possible that Satan was hoping that by tripping up Adam and Eve, that God would walk into the garden, found out that Adam and Eve had sinned, that God would immediately take action and wipe out Adam and Eve, and Satan would have taken care of the whole human race in one act. I mean, Satan didn't know the future then. He didn't know the mind of God, so he just figures, hey, that could end this human race before it starts. Take out the founders. They mess up, God kills them, we're good. Didn't work that way because God didn't kill them. God gave him another chance, but let's see how he does it. Chapter 3, verse 1, Now the serpent was more crafty than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made, and he said to the woman, Indeed, has God said you shall not eat of any tree of the garden? So he starts right out with a lie, but it's a sneaky lie. He wants to draw Eve in and start messing with her head, but in a very sneaky way. God had said, you can eat of every tree in the garden except this one. And as far as what we have recorded, all God said was, you can eat of every tree but this one. And it was a rich garden. So Satan starts by, what he's trying to do, without looking like he's doing it, he wants to get Eve start thinking that God's holding out on her, that God doesn't really love her, that God is not giving her good gifts, that God is holding back the best stuff from her. He wants to what? Create desire in her. Create a desire for her to follow that is not a desire for God. So he starts by saying, so God won't let you eat any of this, huh? Wow, that's kind of harsh. Nothing, huh? That's not what God said. And Eve corrects him. He said, no, we're allowed to eat all this, but we're not allowed to eat or touch that. Now, maybe God said that, but it's not in the Bible. I think that's a sign that Satan's already gotten into her head a little bit, because suddenly God sounds worse, doesn't he? He says, you may eat of all this except that. She turns that into, you can eat all this, but don't eat or touch it. So suddenly God's sounding a little less nice. I don't know, but it's suspicious to me that she adds that in. But from the fruit of the tree, verse 3, which is in the middle of the garden, God has said, you shall not eat from it or touch it, or you will die. Which is also not what God said. God said, the day you eat of it, you will die. By saying, if you drink this poison, it'll die. If Callie says, Ira said if I drink this, he'll kill me. No, that's not what I said. I said, if you drink this, it'll kill you. God said, on the day you eat this, you'll die. She said, don't eat it or touch it, lest I kill you, lest you die. So So again, Eve suddenly, it's working. God seems harsher. God doesn't seem like a loving God anymore. The serpent said to the woman, "That's not true. You won't die. Actually, God knows that the day you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." Oh, Eve, if you eat that, good things are going to happen. Oh, man, you'll be so happy. Oh, it's going to change your life for the better. And at that point, Satan is done. He's finished. He didn't do much, did he? He just did a little. He's just tried to stir up her desire. He's tried to make her think that God's gift wasn't good enough, that there's something else out there that's better, that she needs to go for herself. And notice how well it worked. Verse 6. You're not going to hear from Satan again. He's done. Now, from here on out, it's all Eve. When the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was desirable to make one wise, she took from its fruit and ate, and gave also to her husband with her, and he ate. She begins to desire the fruit. She begins to stare at the fruit and go, "Oh, that looks good, that looks good, I want it, I want it." And she went for it. And right there you see the change. She'd been following God, and she turned around and followed her heart. Satan just gave her a nudge in that direction, and she followed her heart. It looked desirable. She desired it. And when she desired it, she put herself on the path of death. And we see that Satan's lie was a lie because God walked into the garden and didn't kill her, and didn't kill Adam. They immediately started to die. Their bodies started to die. I'm dying. You're dying. Every day we're dying. Our bodies are constantly dying. When you're young, your body is also creating new bodies, so you keep replacing the parts of you that die. As you get older, your body starts losing the ability to keep up. And so you start to... I'm already on the wrong side of things. My body's going, we can't keep up anymore. If the Lord leaves me at 70 or 80, I'll start really showing the signs of, you are not keeping up anymore with this whole dying thing. They started dying that moment. Death came into their lives and their bodies began to start to die. In fact, if you look in the Hebrew of what God had said to Adam and Eve when he warned them about the tree, what he said is, on the day you eat it, dying, you shall die. We don't translate it that way, but it's dying, you shall die. In other words, they immediately died spiritually because God is life, and they had separated themselves from life spiritually. And they started dying. Their bodies began to die that day. Death was introduced, and they began to die. Dying, you shall die. Satan lied to them. You won't die. Well, they didn't immediately, but they immediately started dying, and they immediately suffered separation from God, which is spiritual death. Because they followed their instincts. They followed their heart. Satan got them to do that. Turn to Matthew 4. Let's look at him trying again. Let's look what Satan does. We have this idea of Satan, and Christians sometimes play into this. We have this idea of Satan as this big scary guy who's hiding in the shadows and comes out and says, "Hello, child, I'm going to get you now." And we have to cast him out or fight big battles. And, oh, we have spiritual warfare here because Satan's trying to get me. Oh, like some monster. And that's not how Satan rolls. Satan's biggest attacks are not big and scary. Look at here's probably his biggest attack ever after Adam and Eve. And Adam and Eve, he didn't do much, did he? He just said, you should try it. That was his big, scary attack. He didn't grab her, didn't possess her. He didn't say, Eve, you should follow me. He just said, nice fruit, make you smart, try it. Ooh. Cast you out, Satan. Satan's like, what? It's just a fruit. Hey. That was his big attack. Notice his big attack on Jesus. It's his second biggest attack. Matthew 4. Then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. And after he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, then became hungry. That is the most unnecessary verse in the Bible. Jesus didn't eat for 40 days, and then he was hungry. When I haven't eaten for 40 minutes, I begin to get hungry. 40 days, yeah, you all be looking like just like a room full of steaks. I'd be like, hey, how you doing, campers? You'd be like, why is he looking at me that way? No reason. It's been a long month. Okay, so he's hungry. And the tempter came and said to him, if you're the Son of God, turn these stones into bread. Ooh, there's a scary satanic attack. I am the Lord of the underworld, and I would like you to have a muffin. Ooh, demonic muffin. No, he just says, hey, you haven't eaten for 40 days, Jesus. You must be starving. Just like, oh, yeah, I'm hungry. He says, well, you know, you're Son of God, right? Yep. Well, then there's a rock. Why don't you just turn it into bread? I mean, that's not hard, right? And of course, there's no verse in the Bible that says you can't eat bread. In fact, there's no verse in the Bible that says you can't turn a rock into bread and then eat it. There's absolutely nothing in the Bible that says turning rock into bread and eating bread is wrong. He's not even near the boundaries. There's no rule here. He's saying, Jesus, you seem hungry. You should have something to eat. Satan's a nice guy. And Jesus said, good point. I'll have some bread. No. Verse 4. He answered, that it is written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. Basically, Jesus says, that's not God's plan. Thank you. My life is about more than satisfying my hunger. Why? Because his life was not about meeting his needs. His life was not about, here's what I want right now, and I should go for what I want. And so when Satan says, I bet you want bread right now, which Jesus, so he wants bread. Bread would be cool. So Satan says, so why don't you go do what you want? And God said, Jesus says, no, I'm going to follow God. Whatever God tells me. Because he's at that point where he can choose either way. The big satanic attack is have some bread. So he's not done. He's going to try again. Then the devil took him into the holy city and had him stand on the pinnacle of the temple. Way up high. He said, if you are the Son of God, throw yourself down. For it is written, he will command his angels concerning you. And on their hands they will bear you up, so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. Satan says, okay, well, if you're the Son of God, then why don't you get up here? Why don't you just jump? I mean, the Bible says that God will not let anything bad happen to you, so you'll be fine. Now, why would Satan tempt Jesus this way? Well, where's the temple? Where's the temple? Don't say in Jerusalem. Where's the temple? You say, I was going to say in Jerusalem, and I don't know how to answer.
The place that people don't want them.
No, not yet. I know what you mean, but not quite. It's not that they're be up there, hey, jump! No, that's... It's in the center of the city. It's where everyone goes. If he just wanted him to kill himself, he could take him to any high cliff. You know, go out, there are some really high cliffs outside of Jerusalem. Plenty of places where the fall would be greater. He took him into the temple where everyone would see. What's the temptation here? Jesus, not everyone's believing in him yet. A lot of people, some people don't even like him. They don't believe he's Messiah. If he jumps off the temple, lands, and is totally okay, that's gonna be impressive. And everyone will see it. He jumped off the temple, and he didn't even break a bone. He didn't stub his toe. I think the temptation here is instant fame. Instant recognition of who he is. Because not everyone's sold on who Jesus is. And this will help. This will get him the followers that he supposedly is supposed to want, right? Jesus says, on the other hand, it's written, you shall not put the Lord your God to the test. Which is just a very biblical way of Jesus going, well, that's dumb. Was it God's will for him to jump off the temple? No. If Jesus had jumped off the temple, would he be following God's will? No. If he doesn't follow God's will, that's a sin. If he sins, is he any longer God?
No.
What happens if he jumps off the temple? Splat. Satan's lying. You say, well, Jesus didn't jump off the temple because even though God would have saved him, I'm not sure God would have. I think Jesus was smarter than that. Jesus says, no, you're just trying to get me to kill myself. Satan's like, I think if Jesus jumped off the temple, he splats. He dies. His body ceases to exist. He kills his human body. Why? Because he's walked away from the path of God. And when you walk away from the path of God, there's a way that seems right, and it ends in death. He would have walked outside of God's will, outside of God's plan. He walked his own way. That's the way of death. Satan's trying to be a little tricky here. Oh, don't worry. The Bible says that God won't let your foot stumble. She was like, yeah, but you don't sit there and just say, God, I'm going to jump. Stop me. That's dumb. So the devil took him to a very high mountain, showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory. He said to him, I will give you all these things if you fall down and worship me. I think this is the biggest temptation yet, and why we have the biggest response from Jesus. This is where Jesus, up until now, he's just kind of gone, no. But just like with Peter, this one strikes a little too close to home. And so Jesus has to respond stronger. Why is Jesus going to go die on the cross? To win humanity back. To buy them back from Satan. To save them from death. Satan says, tell you what, I know you're kind of stressed out about this whole cross thing. Tell you what, you bow to me, and I'll just give it to you. You don't have to die. You just don't want to die. His flesh does not want to go through this. Satan says, tell you what, we can skip that part and I'll just give it to you. Like it, it's back. And Jesus says, get out! Right there. Go, Satan! It is written, you shall... All three of those temptations. All three of those temptations are the same thing. It's the same thing that Satan did with Eve. He tried to get Jesus to go his own way, to do what's best for him, to do what part of him wants to do. Does Jesus' body want to have a piece of bread? Yes. Does Jesus in his human body want people to believe in him? Yes. Does Jesus want to avoid suffering and death? Yes. These are all things that Jesus' flesh, his humanity wants. And Satan says, so do what you want. Do what you want. And all three times Jesus says, no, I'm going to follow the Lord. No, the Lord says, no, God says, no, God says, no, God says, and he just keeps moving this way, away from where Satan's trying to steer him. Satisfy your hunger, satisfy your pride, satisfy your desire for safety. And Jesus says, no, I'm trusting God. I'm going to follow his way, the way of the cross. Turn to Matthew 26. It gets harder for Jesus. Matthew 26, 36. Now we've got hours to go. For 3 years he's been thinking about this moment. Now we're down to the last few hours, and the stress on Jesus is incredible. That moment is coming where he either goes through with it or doesn't. He's at that tipping point where either he gives up and runs away or goes through with what he doesn't want to do. Then Jesus came with them, verse 36 of 26. Then Jesus came with them to a place called Gethsemane and said to the disciples, sit here while I go over there and pray. And he took with them Peter and the two sons of Zebedee. So basically he takes all his disciples into the garden. He says, you guys wait here. I'm going to go over here and pray. And then he takes his best friends. Because even though he's got a big crew of friends, these guys are the ones he's closest to. Remember we talked about, I've got guys that I'm closest to. So he brings these guys along with him. He says, I don't want to be alone. Why? Because he's human. And he doesn't want to be alone. He's lonely. He's scared. How do I know? Verse 38. And he said to them, his best friends, my soul is deeply grieved to the point of death. I'm so sad I want to die. Why are you so sad you want to die? Because I'm about to be tortured and killed. Remain here and keep watch with me. He doesn't want to be alone. And he went a little beyond them. Like not far away, a little beyond them. He just kind of steps off where he can pray for a minute. And listen to his prayer. Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. And he knows it's not possible. But at this point he can't help but ask because he wants so badly to not go through with this. So Father, if there's any way we can get around this, can we not do this? But he ends his prayer with, but not as I will, but as you will. But not what I want, what you want. I'm hoping we can get out of this, but whatever you want. He went away, and he came to the disciples and found them sleeping. Those are good friends. And he said to Peter, so you guys couldn't keep watch with me for just an hour? You couldn't just, I'm going through something here, and you fall asleep? You could just, an hour, guys? Keep watching and pray that you may not enter into temptation. Guys, my choice is now. Your choice is coming right behind. And then he says what our issue is, his issue. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. He went away again a second time and prayed, saying, my Father, if this cannot pass away unless I drink it, your will be done. If this is the only way to do this, okay. And again he came and found them sleeping. Their eyes were heavy. He doesn't wake them up that time. He kind of gives up on them. He left them again and went away and prayed a third time, saying the same thing once more. 3 times he says, do we have to do this? Do we have to do this? But I will. But I will. But do we have to? But I will. This is a huge temptation. The way of the cross. There are these 2 wills. And part of Jesus' will, Jesus' fleshly human will, wants to get out of there. Wants to take the road that's safe and will feel better. He knows this way is about to get really, 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 really hard. And he doesn't want to, but he keeps going. Satan for years had been trying to get him. We call this way, the way that is the right way, the upward calling of God, we call it the way of the cross. Jesus said, if anyone's going to come after me, he has to go what? The way of the cross. Deny himself and pick up his cross. The only way to follow Jesus is to go the way of the cross. That's a hard way. Our flesh says, don't go that way. Don't deny yourself. Deny yourself? Why would you deny yourself? You got to be all you can be and just let yourself go and be whoever you want to be. Even that heart's lying to you like crazy. Just let it have it. That's the way you'll be happy. So you have 2 wills and 1 decision. You have a hard choice, and this is your choice. This is your choice. Do you go the way that feels good, the way that's going to seem a lot easier? Be the shortcut? Because Satan just keeps offering shortcuts. Hey, you can have whatever you want, just do this. You can have whatever you want, just do this. You can have whatever you want, just do this. God says, he's a thief. He's trying to steal, kill, and destroy you. I have come to give you life. Oh, it's not going to be easy. But it's going to be good. Turn to James 1. This is our last one. How does this work for you? James 1. (13 through 17). I'll read it here. Because now you're in that place. You're going to be in that place where you have to choose which way you're going to go. Let no one say when he is tempted, I am being tempted by God. For God cannot be tempted by evil, and he himself does not tempt anyone. So if you say, I'm feeling this tension, God's not tempting you. Instead, what is tempting you? What happens when you start getting pulled away from God? Verse 14 explains it. But each one is tempted when he is carried away and enticed by his own lust. And lust is just a better word, I think, but translating that word is his own longings. His own longings. What happens? What tempts me? My own longings. And they pull me away. And when I start following my longings, they carry me away And when my longings are indulged, the next verse says, they bring forth sin, because now I've turned my back on God. And sin, when it has been fully followed, results in, what does it say? Death. Because there's a way that seems right, but it ends in death. Why does it seem right? Because my body, my heart craves it. You know, one of my favorite things to do, especially in the summertime when it's hot, crack open a cold can of Coca-Cola. Take that first sip and ooh, it feels good. Now my body doesn't need one of them ever. There is not one cell in my body going, you know what we really could use is a Coca-Cola. For health and well-being, you need more Coke. Nope. It's bad for me. Oh, it feels so good. And so I drink it. But notice we're not done yet. Verse 15 says, when lust has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and when sin is accomplished, it brings forth death. But then, here's the warning, do not be deceived, my beloved brethren. Every good thing given and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shifting shadow. What he says is, you're gonna follow the same path that Eve did. Satan's going to say, here's something good that you can have on your own. Don't be deceived. Everything good is going to come from God. Everything good is going to come from God. It's going to come down from above. You really want good, you can't get it by following your own way. Don't be fooled. That's what it says, verse 16. Don't be deceived. That strong desire that says, go this way and you'll get something you want, is deception. It's a lie. Don't be deceived. It's not going to work out because it's not a good and perfect gift. It's a counterfeit. It's a cheap knockoff. It's going to break the minute you get it home. It's not going to satisfy you. Accept no substitutes. As young people, one of the biggest ways Satan is going to take you out is through love, relationships, sex. Because those are some of your strongest desires. And Satan's no idiot. If he wants to pull you away, he's going to take the strongest thing he can use because it will pull you the hardest. And so for most young people, what is that strongest thing? The desire for love, the desire for relationship, the desire for sex. I mean, when you walk into school, the last thing you want to be is what? Alone. That's the last thing you want to be. So you want to be accepted. And so that draw, Satan will say, great, you want to be accepted? I'll give you acceptance. All you have to do is this. Just follow me. Just over here. And, they're going to love you. And you will fit right in. And you'll be accepting. That's what I want. Because, boy, it's no fun to be alone. Especially if they make fun of you. Oh, that's awful. I'll do anything. I'll do anything. Satan says, that's what I'm counting on. I'm counting on you doing anything. Don't worry, you'll feel better. You'll feel better. Just come this way, and you won't be alone anymore. Here, Jesus, just eat the bread, and you won't be hungry anymore. It's just bread. Just follow me. Just go this way. Meanwhile, he's going to God. Got him. I'll send you the body. Just come with me. I'll give you a good gift. God says, don't be fooled. That's not a good gift. It's going to be the biggest area you struggle. Satan will lie to you. He will entice you. He will encourage you. He will try to lead you into what he says are good things. He will offer you many good things if you'll abandon the way of the cross. He offered Jesus good things if only Jesus would abandon the way of the cross. A way that Satan and Jesus both knew was going to be hard. He will offer you all kinds of things, but he has no good gifts. He has no good gifts. Seek first his kingdom, his treasure. Just to tell you another piece of my story, and some of you have heard this before, and I referenced it yesterday, the day before. So when I was in high school, my mission in life was girlfriend. because I didn't have one. Remember I told you, 3 people in the youth group, the other 2 dating. Third guy's the tire in the garage. Tire in the garage looking for a bike. Hard. Big time. And ladies, those of you who are old enough to have guys in your life, you know that nothing is more attractive than a really desperate guy. Ew. And that sums up my entire high school dating career. Desperate guy. They were playing duck hunt. I would sail in again. Hey, want to be friends? No, you're desperate. Shot me down so many times. And that, of course, you get shot down, you know what makes you? More desperate. It's fun. So I get to Bible college. They got girls there. And you know what the girls at Bible college, you know how they feel about desperate guys? Same way. But then God began to get hold of my heart. I've been a Christian a long time, but God began to get hold of my heart and began to refocus me on the way of the cross through studying, trying to serve Him through youth ministry. And God seized my heart and said, let me satisfy you. And I began to find my satisfaction in serving Him rather than getting what I wanted. And He redirected me and changed my life. I started feeling better about myself because I wasn't thinking about myself all the time. I wasn't constantly thinking about what I needed and how hungry I was and how much I didn't have what I wanted. And I began to focus on what I had, and I started getting a lot because nobody has given up anything, has not received more. And my life became full, and my life became complete, and I was single. Whoa! I feel good! And I don't have a girl. And now I wasn't a desperate guy. I was a guy who didn't need a girl, who walked around and was excited and felt good about life because God is pouring blessing into me. And you know what showed up? Girls! You love Jesus and you want to serve Him. Would you like a wife? Because I want a guy who's going to love Jesus and serve Him so I can be His wife. And I'm like, oh, that's what desperate looks like. You're right, that is unattractive. Ah! And suddenly, irony of ironies. Finally, I've got girls chasing me. Yay! And I'm like, no, this is bad. Go away. Left and right, they're like, hi. And I'm like, hi, how are you? Just the way you said hi means I'm pretty sure this conversation's over. I'll talk to you later. I've got friends I need to hang out with. I'll talk to you, say 5 years, okay? I'll meet you here 8 years. It was scary. Because suddenly I realized they're walking a different way. Now, they're good Christian girls, but they're looking for their MRS degree, as we joke. They want to be a Mrs. Let's fast forward ahead. And there's a lot of twists and turns and turns in my relationship. But when I became convinced that she was the one that God had for me, I wrote her an email telling her that because she asked, well, what's your intentions here? And I said, well, I think God gave you into my life, and I think that I'm supposed to marry you. Which is like, whoa. Now, if I'd walked up to one of those girls at Bible college, one of those girls that were like, I just want a godly husband, I just want to be a pastor's wife. And I said, man, I think God gave you to me to be my wife. They'd have gone, ah, and fallen at my feet. So I said to Sarah, I think God gave you to me. I think that we're supposed to be together. I think that God intends us to be married. And she goes, well, that's nice. I'm not sure about that. You just wait. And I went, she is the one. She is the one. She said no. Cool. Why? Because that told me that she was following God, not her heart. Because that's always the trick. That's always the deal. Good gifts come from God, not from following your heart. The heart is desperately sick. Who can understand it? It's wicked. She was not pursuing a relationship, because if she wanted a relationship, she could have had it. Those girls in school, they wanted a relationship. Sure, one that checked all the God boxes, but they were pursuing what they wanted. I want to pursue what I want. I'll do it God's way, but I'm going to pursue what I want, and that's not God's way. Okay, God, I'm going to pursue whatever you give me. Whatever you give me. I mean, yeah, there's things I want. That's what Jesus did with the bread. Satan says, why don't you just have some bread? Jesus said, no, whatever God gives me. Now, does Jesus want bread? Yes. Is he pursuing bread? No. He's pursuing God. If God gives me bread, I'll have bread. If God doesn't give me bread, he hasn't given me bread for 40 days. I'm wicked hungry. But I'm going to trust God. He has good things for me. You know, the minute Satan left, angels showed up with bread. And they took care of him. Jesus didn't give in. And when the time was right, God gave him what he needed. I am thankful that once those girls started chasing me in Bible college, I could have gotten married to any of them. They would not have been God's will. Which way are you going to go? How are you going to shape your life? Your heart is desperately wicked. You can't trust it. You've got an enemy who's trying to lure you away from the way of the cross, give you an easy way out, giving you the quick fix, giving you what you want, giving you what your urges are. If you go that way, it's going to shred you. His desire is to steal, kill, and destroy. God's way is going to be harder, but he has come to give you life. He loves you. He's a good father. He says, I know how to give good gifts. Every gift I give is good. Will you follow me? Let's pray.